Hello, beautiful homemakers. We're reading Secrets of Fascinating Womanhood. We're in Chapter 10. Angela, you had your hand up? Yes, I've started running too. Now, you told us earlier that your husband had discovered there's a certain level of exercise that will maintain our ideal weight. Just how much is that? I'm pleased that you've started to exercise, Angela, and it's a good question you've asked. Yes, evidently research has shown that if we exercise enough to double our resting pulse rate for 3 hours each week, say for example, half an hour a day, 6 days a week, and we eat within our normal appetite with hardly any sweet drinks, and don't binge on sweet foods, our body weight should steadily drop until it maintains an ideal weight, and then stay there. And it seems to work, don't you think so, Cherry? It sure does. I gave up soft drinks, too, even fruit drinks. I eat full fruit now instead. Very good, Cherry. Now, if doubling our pulse rate is too vigorous for us, we need only increase our pulse rate by half. But for double the length of time, say 6 hours a week, or any combination in between. Your pulse rate is the measure. First, know your resting pulse rate. It's usually about 70 beats a minute for women. Men tend to be lower. Then try different speeds of exercise and check your increase in your pulse. You can buy little electronic gadgets to do it for you, or just use your finger on an artery like I do and time it with a watch. For example, if you choose brisk walking as your exercise and your resting pulse is 70, you should walk fast enough to raise it to 105. That's a 50% increase, and be able to keep it around there for at least half an hour at a time. It takes about 20 minutes for exercise to start being really effective. Short bursts are not as effective for weight control. Is that clear? I think that information has actually changed. I've heard that short bursts of energy actually are just as effective as running. Study it for yourself. Clear as mud, said Bev. I'm hopeless at math. Can you write it on the board? Well, I'll try, Bev. Although math is not one of my strong points either. I can do it, said Cherry. I've got it sussed out in my head. She walked up to the board and picked up the marker and said, Okay, let's say our resting pulse is 70 beats a minute. Now, any of these 3 combinations all right will give us the amount of exercise the teacher is talking about. She wrote on the board, resting pulse 70, exercise needed. Increase by 50% to 105 equals 6 hours per week. Increase by 75% to 122 equals 4.5 hours per week. Increase by 100% to 140 equals 3 hours per week. Does that make sense now? Most of the women nodded their heads and Cherry sat down. Bev spoke. So, I need to exercise 1 hour a day, 6 days a week at about 105 beats a minute. Then I'll be back to where I used to be, correct? Well, yes, Bev. That's what the research shows. Or you can do it in 2 half-hour periods a day. It's worked for Cherry and I, and my weight loss seems to be permanent, as long as I continue to exercise and eat within my appetite, and just a light meal at night and no eating before bed. I've kept the same weight for years now. I find that with the intermittent fasting, I no longer snack after dinner. I have the willpower now. Okay, teacher, you win. Look out for the new Bev. If you can do it, I can do it. You just watch me. There was a determination and excitement in Bev's voice that surprised Angela. Angela felt excited also. This all made perfect sense. She had always been trim and active before marriage. The teacher beamed at Bev. I believe you really mean it, Bev. But don't overdo it at first. I'll be starting tonight, said Bev. What sort of exercise is best of all? Asked Sonia. That all depends on what you enjoy, Sonia. To increase our pulse rate 100%, we need to do something very vigorous, like aerobics or running or swimming, or a stepper, a rowing machine, riding a bike, or an exercycle very fast, climbing steps or hills, or playing netball. To increase our pulse only 50% or 75%, we can do the same things, but at a more comfortable pace, or play tennis, or do exercises like trampolining or brisk walking. Brisk walking is popular. It's a good exercise, especially when you include some little hills and a friend for company. Or you can take a little radio with headphones or an iPod like my husband does when he runs. As we can see with what Cherry's written on the board, an average 50% increase in pulse rate for an hour a day, 6 days a week, or an hour and a half a day, 4 days a week, should keep us slim. I love to go walking with my husband. There are lots of beautiful walks in the hills around here. But long periods of exercise can be tiring at first when you're building up your fitness and carrying a lot of weight. So ease into your exercise and enjoy it. Fitness increases rapidly when we do it every day. Boredom is our biggest enemy to exercise. We need to get our mind off what we're doing. A friend or music or listening to talk radio or tapes, anything to distract our mind from the effort. And we should keep picturing in our mind the firm, shapely body we are regaining. It should be a goal on our goal list, but don't overdo it. Overdoing exercise can stress our body and make us unwell. If any day you feel below par, give it a miss, but never, never give it up. Make it a lifelong thing and enjoy it. I do. You don't have to do the same thing every day. You'll be amazed how much more energetic you feel and how much warmer you feel during winter, how much more relaxed and free of worry you'll be. Also, vigorous exercise helps protect us from osteoporosis, which is so common among older women. Now, 2 last points before we move on to nutrition. If you choose an exercise where only your leg muscles are used, include another exercise to firm up your upper body muscles, especially your upper arms. Swimming and weights are especially good for the upper body, or a rowing machine, or the old traditional exercises like push-ups and chin-ups. And the last point, when you get down to your ideal weight and for a period of time you find it impossible to exercise regularly, weigh yourself every day, and as soon as your weight increases by just 1 kilogram, get it off quickly by skipping a few meals or halving your meals, or by exercise. Yes, Beth? I believe in exercise, but I'm so busy I never get the time to exercise. Beth, leg exercise during pregnancy is very important. It helps us prevent ugly varicose veins. There's also the old saying that applies to all of us. Those who have no time to exercise will sooner or later have to find time for sickness. We have to plan time for our exercising. We should use our desktop planners, or whatever we decide to use. If we just wait for time to come available, it hardly ever will. Now let's look more closely at nutrition and our health. We need to be healthy to be fascinating to our husbands. Good health brings out qualities in a woman that are highly attractive to a man. I'll list some on the board. Fresh complexion, shiny hair, vivaciousness, sparkling eyes, liveliness, cheerful voice, optimism. Do we have these qualities? Maybe before marriage, said Kathy. But after 4 children, what do you expect? Nonsense, said Cherry. That's just an excuse we women make. I was a mess 9 months ago, but now I feel great. I don't mean to show off, but everybody's telling me how good I look. All I did was to get my diet sorted out and to exercise regularly. Cherry's right. Improving our diet can benefit us greatly. Most of us are probably eating too much sugar and too much white flour, and drinking too much caffeine, and not eating enough whole grains and fruit and veggies and nuts. We are what we eat, said Elsie. Yes, so true, Elsie. And we are also what we don't eat, too. If you haven't yet done so, obtain a few good nutrition books and check your diet carefully to see if you're getting all the necessary nutrients. Minerals are especially important. If you can't afford to buy books, go to the library. You would be amazed at how unbalanced your diet really is. I know mine was, and my whole family. Now we hardly ever seem to get sick anymore, not even colds, and have no arthritis pain, and we always seem to have enough energy. As a quick guideline, most of our foods should be whole grains, legumes, nuts, and white, yellow, and dark green vegetables. We should try and avoid white flour products, as most of the minerals and fiber are missing, and also soft drinks and white sugar, and overheated fats and processed meats. Beth, the stringy and falling out hair problem you mentioned earlier does sound very much like a nutrition problem. You might need more zinc and protein, and folate is very important during pregnancy. And too much worry or constant perming can also dull our hair. Good nutrition generally puts the shine back in our hair. Now we've got time for a few more health tips before we close. Creating beautiful things always seems to help a woman's health, so we might like to include a creative hobby as part of our personal growth. Also, going to bed early and getting up early is important for lifelong health. "She's picking on me again," said Bev. The class laughed. The teacher smiled. "I haven't finished yet, Bev. And plenty of fresh air, even during winter. We shouldn't close all our windows so the air gets stale. Our body needs fully oxygenated air to stay healthy. Oxygen is very important for health. We die in 4 minutes without oxygen. And of course, I don't have to mention smoking, do I? It's so unhealthy and so unpleasant to non-smokers, and it's unfeminine. And what a terrible example it sets for our children. Nearly all men loathe the smoking habit in a woman, especially non-smoking men, and most men are non-smokers. "I wasn't as big as I am now when I smoked," said Bev. "Bev, exercise will soon have you looking and feeling like a teenager again. And if we want to enjoy continual health, we need to avoid emotional upsets like getting angry or even too much excitement. We shouldn't worry about the future or dwell on the past. Just live one day at a time. Another thing, we should never take tranquilizers or sleeping pills, or at least never for longer than a week at a time. They are highly, highly addictive. I know. I speak from experience. Exercising is a much better way to relax and to sleep well. Singing and laughing also relax us, or going to church, or listening to our favorite music. We should try and enjoy some nice music every day. And most important, we should smile. Smiling cheers us up like nothing else does and makes any woman look more beautiful to a man. A lovely, innocent smile is a priceless asset to a woman. It should come easily and spontaneously. If you feel self-conscious about your teeth, get them fixed up by a dentist. Yes, it might cost your husband a lot of money, but when he sees you smile confidently, he will know it was worthwhile. We should have our teeth looking their nicest. It makes us more kissable also. Well, that's all for tonight, class. Here are this week's assignments. Secret number 7, assignment 1. Ask your husband to tell you truthfully what hair length and hairstyles he thinks you look nicest in, and wear your hair that way for him. Assignment 2. Start an enjoyable exercise program that you can continue throughout your life. You may want to vary the exercise routine daily, weekly, or monthly. Assignment 3. Obtain some good books on nutrition, study them carefully, and work out a balanced diet for yourself and also your family if they will accept it. Our visitors tonight are Lillian and Kate. Both these fine women have found happiness after broken marriages by living the FW principles. Thank you for coming along to be with us tonight. Can we hear from you first, Lillian? And then from you, Kate. Lillian, a true experience. I first heard of Fascinating Womanhood when our marriage was avalanching to a sad ending. This after 32 years of marriage and 6 children. But I was resentful. What about the feelings I have? Don't they count? I thought. The situation went from bad to worse. We separated, and I lived alone in a rented flat. When I came home from work at night, I had time to think and relive my life. I went through a tremendous soul-searching period. I was ready to accept myself as the blame for our problems. I began to read over again slowly the Fascinating Womanhood teachings with an entirely new outlook. Sure, there it was. Why couldn't I have seen it before? I silently thanked God for his guidance. I didn't have to act the part. I felt it. My life has changed. I am back home with my husband, and we have found our old love renewed. We both look forward to a bright future. Don't wait until it's too late to apply these teachings. There's no age limit for these secrets. What have you got to lose? Believe me, they work. Kate, a true experience. I've had 3 previous marriages, and the man I was engaged to had 2. We were about to break our engagement due to my critical attitude. During this time I had been praying daily that I might discover what my mistakes were, so that I might correct them before it was too late. Then I heard about Fascinating Womanhood, and I had a strange compulsion to know more. I knew somehow that this would be the answer to my prayers, and it certainly was. Within 1 day of applying Fascinating Womanhood, he began putting his arm around me again while we watched TV. Within 2 weeks, he told me, as he held me tenderly, that he'd begun to love me lately like he used to. I was so happy that I burst into tears. We were married 2 months later, and have been happy ever since. He brings me flowers. Today he came home with a beautiful pot of azaleas, and for no apparent reason. That's twice he's done that. No one ever brought me flowers before. That's what Fascinating Womanhood has done for me. Aren't they lovely experiences? The teacher gazed at Angela and then smiled and said, Angela, perhaps you too will soon be able to share a lovely experience of being reunited with your husband. Angela blushed, but felt her hopes rise higher. Good night, everybody. See you next week. But before you go, here are the drawings of feminine hairstyles that most men find highly appealing. Next week we learn the secret of getting men to pay more attention to us. That night, Angela went to bed earlier than normal, at 10 p.m. The next morning she arose at 6:30 to go for a run. She ran and walked alternatively for a full 30 minutes. She resolved to run every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday mornings. She would build up her fitness until she could run 30 minutes non-stop. Angela felt a glow of health and satisfaction as she awoke David and Tiffany at 7:30 a.m. And that's the end of Chapter 10. Bye!